This is Augie42. Moin. Welcome to the factory. We are gonna look at mining chains today. So, it all started when I saw one of Dr. Pixelplay's videos where he built this very basic stationary mining machine. I wanted to improve on this machine because I quite liked the idea. So, my first iteration just had more drills and an extended reach, but my drills were up in the air still and the reach was limited, so I iterated. I added a joint that enabled the drills to always be on the ground, but when the drills touched the ground, they were jumping, and the joints didn't restrict the movement in any way. So I iterated. I came up with a better joints that prevented the drills from going crazy. A wheel close to the drills enabled them to be close to the ground without touching it. It was quite happy, so I took my machine to a first test. So the basic idea of these stationary mining machines is that you can just take them with you on the lift, for example, and then you have to decide where to put them, ideally close to one of those rock formations, and then you have to just weld them on the ground, like this. And this will anchor them, and that's very important because now by using the motor, um, you have infinite grip and you don't have the usual problem of your vehicles just sliding away. So you can just basically enable the motor and watch it go. But then, of course, that was just a prototype, and I promised you mining chains. I went through a lot of iterations to build the best stationary mining machine possible, and I'm quite happy with the final result. So this last version has 3 independent joints that can move more or less freely, and this is a typical controller hinge. I love to use them on stationary machines because they are quite cheap. You can use a piston instead, but I will go into the working of this in a moment. This is the final vehicle I used. You can use it to transport your mining machine. Not the most attractive solution, but it works, and I will go into a demonstration shortly. Alright, I found a suitable mining spot, so let's see how we can set this thing up. First of all, you just need to remove the block. Now it's detached from the vehicle, and we can just fold this here in and transport our mining chain on the lift. Move it close to the rock formation and find a nice spot where you can get as much of the rock as possible. This seems fine. We should have a nice reach here. Yes, that looks good. Alright, now let's start mining. We can use the W and S keys to extend or retract our chain, but now the rock is very close, so we want the lift to be here in the closest position. We can press 2 to start the mining drills and 1 to start our rotation. This process is automated. You don't need to do anything now. You can just wait for the chain to finish. When it gets stuck a bit, then normally it helps to press W to extend the chain a bit. Sometimes it really helps to realign your mining chain. Just give it a new position and it's good to go again. Just look at it go. Wow. This is really the fastest way of mining I ever tried. It's so oddly satisfying to watch it go through all the rock that quick. Yes, we got it. Now we are unleashed. Okay, now that all the rocks are on the ground, we can let our machine do its thing autonomously, and I would try to reduce the lag as much as possible by removing all those little chunks on the ground. You can also push big chunks of rock back to your mining chain. You can see how aggressive the thing is. It will almost never come to a halt. Sometimes it will get stuck, but then if you just move it a bit, it can free itself most of the times. Now that we finished mining, we're back in the factory, so I can show you a little bit in depth how this mining chain works. Okay, I fear we have to go over it bearing by bearing, so you can really understand what I did here and how it works exactly. This first bearing is the one rotating the whole mechanism. It's just a controller set to a loop, and it does a very slow and steady rotation. The reason I'm using a controller here and not an engine is simple. Engines do have a very high speed of rotation, but not the highest torque. Controllers, on the other hand, they don't use fuel, they don't have the high speeds, but we don't need them here. But they have a very high torque, and that's why I want to use a controller instead of an engine here. The next two bearings here, they are freely moving. They are just to hold this piston here in place. In the final version, I didn't use a piston. This is just to show you what is going on. I have a hinge there in the final version, and it's controlled by a controller, which is actually steered by the seat. And this makes it possible to do fine adjustments. The next bearing in the link is special because it's easy to overlook, but it gives you a very high production boost in mining because it's tilting the drills down a bit. This is simply done by a controller, and it doesn't even have to be that much. This here 10 degrees is a little bit overkill, but it works fine. But on the other hand, it's very laggy. You can set it back to 5 degrees, that's working fine. And for transportation, you can even set it to -degrees like that. So the drills are all facing up. And now you can better see what this bearing is doing. Now let's take a look at the individual chain links where the drills are mounted. So each link in the chain has two drills mounted onto it and one wheel. The suspensions the drills are mounted on are not turned themselves. There's a bearing directly behind the drill head which rotates it. The reason why I chose two drills for each chain link is I didn't want that many links because I wanted to avoid too many moving parts causing lag. But on the other hand, I think it's important that each drill is very close to a wheel, so it can better adjust to the terrain, because each time a drill actually touches the ground, the whole chain will jump, and that's not what we want. We want each drill to be as close to the ground as possible, but not on the ground, touching it. When it comes to the total number of drills you can mount onto your chain, there is really only one limitation, which is your machine. Each individual link will cause some lag, and well, that's no good. But yeah, I think this many are fine in this world, but in survival there will be a lot more parts and a lot more going on, so maybe you just want to go with 4 drill heads or 6. The choice is yours. Okay, now we're done. Let's do a little test. Okay. You see, the advantage of more drills is that when it jumps, it doesn't jump that high. So all the drills stay close to the ground. So the more weight is on your chain, the better it works. But on the other hand, the more performance it will need. So better watch out for your frames per second here. Alright, that's it from me for today. I hope you had fun following this video about mining chains, and I really hope you are gonna build your own instruments of destruction. But, well, that's another game, I guess. This was Augie42. I see you in the next video. If you like this one, please like and subscribe, and please leave a comment. I read all of them. Bye.